Yeah, I think as they went along, I was getting an idea at each stage of the Viva. They were saying, well, we think you might want to expand on this, or you might want to make this a bit clearer, or would quite like to do a bit more analysis on this. So as I was going, I was sort of building up a picture of what they were going to ask me to do. And then basically at the end, they sort of asked me if I would leave them for sort of 20 minutes or whatever, and they would just have a discussion and bring me back in. When they brought me back in, they went through, first of all, they went through what they'd liked about it, what they thought it was good, and then they'd sort of went through, which wasn't a total surprise because they'd sort of brought it up previously, saying what the aspects that they wanted changing or expanding on. But I do remember thinking, by the end, I still don't really know whether I've passed this or not, because it sounded like an awful lot of corrections, and in actual fact it wasn't. She said it was more than typos, but I wasn't sort of at that point. I was starting to worry a bit, is this major corrections? And it wasn't really until the very end where she was making notes, the internal examiner just said, so minor corrections within 3 months, will that sound okay as a time scale to do them? So that was a bit, it would have been, I think I preferred it if they'd said, this is, we've only got some minor corrections that we want to go through with you. Might have, because by the end I was starting to think, is it just a foregone conclusion or not? So it was only right at the very end that I was actually aware that it was only minor corrections.
So they didn't stand up at the end and say congratulations, Dr. Taylor, or anything like
that? They did, right, that was the very last thing they did. The second to last thing they did was say minor corrections, and then they said, right, so congratulations, and stood up and shook my hand then. So that was a moment of relief.